Like I say, most Germans would tell you that ship was not Nazi. It was not Nazi. It was not Hitler. It was not anything like that. He did not have the money. He did not have the financial clout. He did not have ah! The Bismarck was 120 years old when it was sunk. It was not Hitler. It took about 25 years or more to build. It was not Hitler. It was not Nazi. Like, if you refer to my beautiful ship like that, I will rip out your throat myself. It was Lucifer White Star Line property. Just because somebody comes along and spray paints some crap on the side of a ship does not make it theirs. It was 120 years old and it was parked as a museum piece. Like, some punk kids or whatever started calling it theirs. They went up there, they killed some people, shot a bunch of people, and then they called it theirs or something like that. Or somebody started doing like this little whatever movement. I don't really know exactly. Anyway, it was my ship, and it was like a 120-year-old ship when they took it from its museum parking spot. It was about maybe even 500 years old. They killed a bunch of people. They stole a bunch of money. They spent it. All right, whatever. And they probably got anyway. I don't really know the exact details of it. Like I said, it was just parked there. You could go take a tour of it basically, and it wasn't Nazi. And then a bunch of people come along and say Nazi, 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 Nazi. It's like, it's not yours. Grow up. Anyway, it's Lucifer White Star Line property. The 19-inch gun, the 18-inch gun, the 17-inch gun. I paid for the fabrication and the manufacture of it. And it was made from some very, 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 very unique steel that would not rust. And that's why I made it. And the hull was about 24 inches thick or more. And you could ram icebergs with it, and it wouldn't even feel it. And I forget, there's some other details about it. Anyway, it's a very unique ship, and it went all over the Arctic, cruised around. It was about 120 years old, or 500 or 200 years old when they parked it, because it was just like, they couldn't afford they didn't have enough coal to run the engines or something like that. They couldn't afford to drive it around anymore, basically. And I think I think it even got derelict. Like, it washed up against the shore one time. I got stranded on some rocks or something, and I paid to have people go up there and pull it loose and then park it where it's supposed to be and drop the anchor again. And people would go up there and they would see it and they would stay in a hotel and stuff. It was a massive ship, and they were, basically some kids ran up there and they were trying to take it out or something like that, or they're going to take it and scrap it or something. I don't really know. They basically stole it, basically. And I mean, like I said, they took down the factory after they built it. There's no reason for a ship with like 24-inch thick hull or 30-inch hull. Like, it won't rust. It's made from solid steel. Like when you look at the front, that's not that's a solid cast steel. Like, they would, it's solid cast, like hot rolled and all that. Like, they can't make that stuff anymore. It's not possible to make that ship anymore. You just can't. They deconstructed the factory after they built it. Like, great big huge rams. They would lay the plates out, and then it was crazy manufacturing. Like it took a third of Germany to manufacture that, and I was paying them. So yeah, and then it was parked. It was a museum. It was making money, and then some kids went up there, shot a bunch of people, stole the money, and then tried to take the ship out a couple times. And it was like, and then they started their own yeah, fear the Reich. It was like, that's my ship. What are you doing? Anyway, though, it became a public nuisance problem or whatever. I can tell you everything about this ship. Anyway, they couldn't manufacture it. They weren't even born when it was made. Like it was 120 years old when it was parked. We didn't need it anymore. So, and it was basically just a look what we can do kind of thing. And I paid for it, and it was my personal property and all that stuff. So anyway, whatever. Now they're old or whatever. They stole the ship and they went on the cruise and they killed a bunch of whatever. Actually, I don't think they killed a bunch of people. I don't know. There's a full report on the Bismarck and what it did. And then they burned the records. I saw everything. I was like, oh, really? Okay, we're gonna have to do something about it. Anyway, we warned them, we radioed them. I forget exactly what the details are of it. There was like this one guy that was like, and I was like, I don't really know. I mean, he was like the kid of the kid or something like that. And he just went up there. And basically, they chopped up a bunch of wood, fed it into the engines, and it like clogged up the stacks or something like that. I mean, there's this whole thing on it, like it was like a 200-year problem or something like that, where it was like they were stealing it. And I was like, oh, what are they doing? Anyway, it's part of the whole Nixon, JFK, Jimmy Carter problem. And it wasn't really a problem. It was just like it's a museum. The ship could last 500 years. What are you doing? And they were going to take it out, and I thought they were just going to take it out for a cruise, but then they abandoned it or something like that because they like steered too close to something, hit something or something, or they rammed the shore or something like that. And then they were going to take it to scrap it or something like that. And like my guys tried to get close, and they like shot at my people. And because I was like, well, if you're going to scrap it, I mean, they didn't have the, they're like, we're buying it. And I was like, where's the money then? And they didn't have the money. So because they were just some kids, and then I was going to take it to scrap it or whatever, but then they shot my people or something. It's a long thing. It's basically a bunch of punk kids were just like shooting up the place and whatever. And my people went up there to go deal with it and stuff like that. And it was pretty much just grand theft steamship, pretty much. They didn't have any gunpowder. They were trying to buy it. I don't know exactly what the deal was. That they scrapped a bunch of stuff off of it. Just basically like punk kids. There's a museum. Mother and wife were running it or something like that. It was basically just abandoned up there pretty much. But it wouldn't sink because it was so massive and so heavy. And they basically just went up there, and then they made up a bunch of lies about it or something. I don't really know. It was like, yeah, there's a full report on it. Anyway, yeah, and then the government had to do something about it because it was like, I don't know. I mean, there were 4 of them built or something like that. There more than one built. And then there was the one that was parked up there. Anyway, whatever. It was over a long period of time. A bunch of kids went up there, basically inhabited it, and then, like I say, they were chopping up wood to start the engines and all that, and trying to get it running. I mean, it wouldn't rust. It would, you could probably pull it up tomorrow. And well, the thing was, they scrapped a lot of the parts off of it. I think they were actually towing it or something like that. They actually had to tow it. I forget, before they could wreck it. It wasn't like the Gloria battle. It was more like you stripped off all the like they stripped off all the brass. They stripped off all the parts. It was basically a stripped hull when they blew it up. Anyway, they didn't know how to cut the hull. The hull was too thick to cut, and it's made from a steel that the torches really can't cut. You'd have to slice through it, and they didn't have the money or the parts or something like that. They were basically just a bunch of kids like, and they like ramming speed and rammed it into some stuff. And basically I was alerted, and I was like, all right, blow it up. They were warned and all this and that, and it wasn't the Gloria battle. It was more like just a bunch of kids that basically stole a steamship, a museum piece, pretty much, just like everything else. Just a bunch of kids that stole a museum piece. Sorry to say.